The lipstick smudge on Alex's collar glared at me like a neon sign, screaming infidelity. I held my breath, fingers trembling as I lifted the crisp, white shirt from the laundry basket. How many times had I washed away the evidence without realizing it? "Emma, where are you?" Alex's voice boomed from downstairs, snapping me back to reality. I quickly shoved the shirt back into the basket and plastered on a smile. "Coming, honey!" As I descended the stairs, my mind raced. How long had this been going on? Was I just being paranoid? Alex stood at the bottom, keys jingling impatiently in his hand. "There you are. I'm heading out for a bit. Don't wait up." "Wait, Alex," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I thought we were having dinner together tonight. I made your favorite." He cut me off with a wave of his hand. "Something came up at work. We'll do it another time." "But it's our anniversary," I whispered, the words barely audible. Alex paused, his hand on the doorknob. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the man I married 15 years ago. Then, just as quickly, his face hardened. "Oh, right. Sorry, Em. I completely forgot. We'll celebrate this weekend." "Okay?" I could respond. He was gone, leaving me alone with echo of the slamming door. I sank onto the bottom step, my head in my hands. When had everything gone so wrong? We used to be happy, didn't we? The phone rang, startling me out of my spiral. I answered without checking the caller ID. "Emma, it's Peter. I hope I'm not interrupting anything." Peter, my old friend from college. His warm voice was a balm to my frayed nerves. "No, not at all," I said, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. "How are you?" "I'm good. Listen, I'm in town for a few days. I was wondering if you'd like to grab coffee, catch up a bit?" I hesitated. Alex wouldn't like it if I met up with another man, even an old friend. But then again, Alex wasn't here, was he? You know what? That sounds great. When were you thinking? We made plans to meet the next afternoon at a little cafe downtown. As I hung up, I felt a tiny spark of excitement. It had been so long since I'd done anything for myself. The next day, I found myself sitting across from Peter, clutching a steaming latte. He looked good, a few more lines around his eyes perhaps, but still with that boyish grin I remembered. "So, Emma," he said, leaning forward, "and how's life treating you?" I opened my mouth to give my usual response. "Fine, everything's great." But something stopped me. Maybe it was the genuine concern in Peter's eyes, or maybe I was just tired of pretending. "Honestly, not great," I admitted. "Alex and we're having some problems." Peter's brow furrowed. "I'm sorry to hear that. Do you want to talk about it?" And suddenly, the floodgates opened. I told him everything. The emotional distance, the forgotten anniversaries, the lipstick on the collar. Peter listened without judgment, occasionally reaching out to squeeze my hand comfortingly. As I finished my story, wiping away a stray tear, Peter's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. "I'm so sorry, Emma. I have to take this. Work emergency. But listen, why don't we meet again tomorrow? Same time, same place?" I nodded, grateful for his understanding. As Peter hurried away, I felt lighter than I had in months. Maybe talking about my problems wasn't such a bad idea after all. Just then, my own phone chimed with a text. It was from Alex. "Working late again. Don't wait up." I stared at the message, a familiar ache settling in my chest. But this time, instead of resignation, I felt something else stirring. Determination. Things couldn't go on like this. Something had to change. As I left the cafe, I made a decision. Tomorrow, I would confront Alex. One way or another, I would get answers. And then, well, then we'd see what happened next. I paced the living room, rehearsing the speech I'd prepared for Alex. My stomach churned with a mix of anxiety and determination. The front door clicked open, and I froze. "Emma?" Alex called out, his voice oddly cheerful. "You still up?" I stepped into the hallway, arms crossed. "We need to talk, Alex." His smile faltered. "Can it wait? I'm beat." "No," I said firmly, "it can't." We sat across from each other at the kitchen table, the air thick with tension. I took a deep breath and launched into my prepared speech. "Alex, I know something's wrong. You're distant. You're never home. And yesterday, I found lipstick on your collar." His face remained impassive. "It's not what you think, Emma." "Then what is it?" I demanded, my voice rising. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're having an affair." Alex sighed, rubbing his temples. "I'm not having an affair, Emma, but I think we both know this marriage isn't working anymore." His words hit me like a physical blow. I'd expected denial, maybe even anger, but this calm admission of failure? It was worse than I'd imagined. "So that's it?" I whispered. "And you're just giving up?" "I'm being realistic," he countered. "We've been drifting apart for years. Maybe it's time we—" A wave of nausea suddenly washed over me. I bolted from the table, barely making it to the bathroom before emptying the contents of my stomach. As I rinsed my mouth, a thought struck me. When was my last period? With shaking hands, I counted back the days on my phone's calendar. Oh my God, I breathed. I emerged from the bathroom to find Alex waiting, a look of concern on his face that I hadn't seen in months. Emma, are you okay? I met his eyes, my heart pounding. I think I might be pregnant. The silence that followed was deafening. Alex's face went through a range of emotions, shock, disbelief, and finally, something that looked unsettlingly like disappointment. Are you sure? He asked, his voice strained. I shook my head. Not completely. I need to take a test. Alex nodded, already reaching for his keys. I'll go to the pharmacy. As he left, I sank onto the couch, my mind reeling. A baby. Could this be the thing that saved our marriage? Or was it too late? My phone buzzed with a text. It was Peter. Hope everything's okay. Here if you need to talk. I stared at the message, guilt gnawing at me. I hadn't told Alex about meeting Peter. It hadn't seemed important at the time, but now... The front door opened, and Alex returned with a small paper bag. We sat in tense silence as I took the test, then waited for the results. Those 3 minutes felt like an eternity. When the timer on my phone chimed, I looked at Alex. Together? I asked. He nodded, following me into the bathroom. I picked up the test with trembling fingers and turned it over. 2 pink lines stared back at us. It's positive, I whispered, a mix of joy and fear washing over me. I turned to Alex, expecting, what? Excitement? Happiness? Instead, I saw resignation in his eyes. Emma, he said softly, a baby isn't going to fix us. His words cut deep, shattering the fragile hope I'd been clinging to. I stepped back, wrapping my arms protectively around my midsection. So what are you saying? I asked, though I feared I already knew the answer. Alex ran a hand through his hair, looking everywhere but at me. I think we need some time apart to figure things out. I felt the world tilting beneath my feet. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not when everything was about to change. You're leaving? I choked out. Now? He nodded, his expression a mask of forced calm. I'll stay with a friend for a while. We both need space to think. As Alex packed a bag, I stood in the doorway, watching the life I thought I knew crumble around me. When he finally left, the silence in the house was oppressive. I picked up my phone, my vision blurry with unshed tears. Without thinking, I dialed Peter's number. Emma? His concerned voice came through. What's wrong? I took a shaky breath. Peter, I need you. Peter arrived within 20 minutes, his face etched with concern. I collapsed into his arms, the dam of emotions finally breaking. He left, Peter. I sobbed. Alex left. Peter guided me to the couch, his arm around my shoulders. Start from the beginning, Emma. What happened? Through hiccuping breaths, I recounted the evening's events. The confrontation, the pregnancy test, Alex's cold reaction. Peter listened intently, his jaw tightening as I spoke. I'm so sorry, Emma. He said softly when I finished. You don't deserve this. I wiped my eyes, suddenly aware of how close we were sitting. I don't know what to do, Peter. I'm pregnant, and my husband just walked out on me. Peter took my hand, his touch warm and comforting. You're not alone, Emma. I'm here for you, whatever you need. Our eyes met, and for a moment I felt a spark of something I hadn't experienced in years. But before I could dwell on it, my phone buzzed. It was Alex. I need to talk to you. His message read, Can you meet me at the cafe tomorrow at noon? I showed Peter the message, my stomach churning with anxiety. You don't have to go, Peter said, his voice tight. I do, I replied. I need answers. The next day I arrived at the cafe 5 minutes early, my nerves on edge. Alex was already there, looking haggard and sleep-deprived. Emma, he said as I sat down. Thanks for coming. I cut straight to the chase. Why did you leave, Alex? Is there someone else? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. No, there's no one else, but Emma, I can't do this anymore. The pregnancy, it just made me realize how trapped I feel. His words hit me like a slap. Trapped? We're having a baby, Alex. This should be the happiest moment of our lives. I don't want kids, Emma, he said flatly. I never have. I thought you knew that. I stared at him, speechless. How could I have missed something so fundamental about the man I married? So what now? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Alex reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded document. I think we should get a divorce. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Divorce? Just like that? It's for the best, he said, pushing the papers towards me. I've already signed. Take some time to look it over. I stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over my chair. You don't get to decide what's best for me or this baby, Alex. I thought our marriage meant something to you. Emma, please? But I was already walking away, tears blurring my vision. I stumbled out of the cafe, gasping for air. Suddenly, a strong hand steadied me. I looked up to see Peter, concern etched on his face. "I'm sorry," he said. "I couldn't let you face this alone. I waited outside, just in case." Without thinking, I threw my arms around him, burying my face in his chest. He held me tightly, murmuring soothing words. When I finally pulled back, I saw something in Peter's eyes that both thrilled and terrified me. "Emma," he said softly, "I know this isn't the right time, but I need to tell you something. I've been in love with you since college. Seeing you with Alex all these years, it's been torture." I stared at him, my mind reeling. "Peter, But before I could finish, a wave of dizziness washed over me. The world tilted, and I felt myself falling. The last thing I heard was Peter's panicked voice calling my name as everything faded to black. When I came to, I was in a hospital bed, the steady beep of monitors filling the room. Peter sat beside me, his face pale with worry. "What happened?" I croaked. Peter squeezed my hand. "You fainted. The doctors, Emma, they found something during the ultrasound." My heart raced. "The baby?" He shook his head, his eyes brimming with tears. "It's not a baby, Emma. They found a tumor on your ovary." The world seemed to stop. In that moment, faced with a failing marriage, an unexpected confession of love, and now this devastating news, I realized my life would never be the same again. The stark white walls of the hospital room seemed to close in on me as I tried to process the doctor's words. A tumor, not a baby. The cruel irony wasn't lost on me. "Miss Thompson," Dr. Patel said gently, "I know this is a lot to take in, but we need to discuss your options." I nodded numbly, grateful for Peter's steady presence beside me. His hand in mine was an anchor in the storm of emotions threatening to overwhelm me. "The tumor is sizable, but we caught it early," Dr. Patel continued. "With immediate treatment, your prognosis is good. However," I tensed, bracing myself for more bad news. "The treatment will likely affect your fertility. If you want to preserve the option of having children in the future, we need to act quickly." My mind reeled. Children. The future. Just days ago, I thought I was pregnant, and now... "I need some time," I whispered. Dr. Patel nodded sympathetically. "Of course, but please don't take too long. Time is of the essence." As she left, Peter turned to me, his eyes brimming with concern. "Emma, I'm here for you. Whatever you decide, I'll support you." His words, meant to comfort, only served to remind me of the complexity of our situation. Peter's confession of love hung between us unaddressed in the wake of my diagnosis. "I need to talk to Alex," I said suddenly. Peter's face fell, but he nodded. "Of course. Do you want me to call him?" I shook my head. "No, I need to do this myself." With trembling fingers, I dialed Alex's number. He answered on the third ring. "Emma? What's wrong?" I took a deep breath. "Alex, I'm in the hospital. It's not a baby. It's a tumor." The silence on the other end was deafening. Finally, Alex spoke, his voice uncharacteristically soft. "I'm so sorry, Emma. Do you want me to come?" "No," I said quickly. I needed you to know. And Alex, I'm signing the divorce papers." I ended the call before he could respond, for a weight lifting from my shoulders. For the first time in years, I felt like I was taking control of my life. Peter watched me carefully. "Are you okay?" I managed a small smile. "No, but I will be." The next few days passed in a blur of tests, consultations, and difficult decisions. I opted for fertility preservation before starting treatment, clinging to the hope of a future I wasn't sure I'd have. On the day of my surgery, I found myself sharing a room with an elderly woman named Margaret. She had a kind face and a no-nonsense attitude that I immediately appreciated. "First time?" she asked, as I nervously fiddled with my hospital gown. I nodded. "You'll be fine, dear," she said confidently. "I've been through this rodeo 3 times now. The trick is to focus on what you're fighting for." Her words struck a chord. What was I fighting for? As if on cue, Peter appeared in the doorway, his arms full of flowers. "Ready for this?" he asked, his smile not quite hiding his worry. Looking at him, I suddenly knew the answer to Margaret's implied question. I was fighting for a second chance, at life, at love, at happiness. "I'm ready," I said, surprising myself with the strength in my voice. As the nurses came to wheel me to surgery, I caught Peter's hand. "Peter, when this is over, I think we need to talk about us." His eyes widened, hope flickering across his face. "Us?" I nodded, squeezing his hand. "Us." As they rolled me away, I caught a glimpse of Margaret giving me a knowing wink. For the first time since this ordeal began, I felt a glimmer of hope for the future. The last thing I remember before the anesthesia took hold was Peter's voice, soft and sure. "I'll be here when you wake up, Emma. I promise." And in that moment, facing the unknown, I made a promise to myself. Whatever happened, I would fight. For my life, for love, for the future I suddenly realized I desperately wanted. With Peter, with a family of our own. As I drifted off, I felt stronger than I had in years. The road ahead would be tough, but I was ready to face whatever came next, head on and heart open. 5 years. It's hard to believe how much can change in such a short time. As I stand in our sun-drenched kitchen, watching Peter flip pancakes while our 4-year-old daughter Jackie giggles at the table, I'm struck by a wave of gratitude so intense it nearly brings me to my tears. "Mommy, look! Daddy made a Mickey Mouse pancake!" Jackie exclaims, her blue eyes, so like Peter's, sparkling with delight. I ruffle her curly hair, marveling at how perfectly she blends our features. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. Daddy's quite the artist, isn't he?" Peter winks at me over his shoulder and my heart swells. After everything we've been through, my cancer, the grueling treatments, the uncertain future, here we are, living a life I once thought impossible. "So, what's the plan for today?" Peter asks, sliding a plate of pancakes in front of me. "Well, I have that follow-up appointment at the hospital," I remind him, trying to keep my voice light. Even after 5 years of clean scans, these checkups still fill me with anxiety. Peter's hand finds mine across the table, squeezing gently. "Want me to come with you?" I shake my head. "No, you have that big presentation today. I'll be fine." But as I sit in the sterile waiting room 2 hours later, I'm not so sure. The familiar fear creeps in, whispering worst-case scenarios. What if the cancer's back? What if this time we're not so lucky? "Emma Thompson," a nurse calls, jolting me from my spiraling thoughts. Dr. Patel greets me with a warm smile, but there's something in her eyes that sets my nerves on edge. "How are you feeling, Emma?" she asks as I settle into the chair across from her desk. "Good," I say, perhaps a bit too quickly. "Great, actually." She nods, her expression turning serious. "Emma, I've looked over your latest scans, and there's something we need to discuss." My heart plummets. This can't be happening. Not now. Not when everything is finally perfect. "We've detected a small mass on your remaining ovary," Dr. Patel says gently. "The world seems to tilt on its axis." "Is it—" I can't bring myself to say the word. "We won't know for certain until we do a biopsy," she explains. "But given your history, we need to take this seriously." I nod numbly, barely hearing as she outlines the next steps. All I can think about is Peter and Jackie. How will I tell them? How can I put them through this again? As I leave the hospital, my phone buzzes with a text from Peter. "How'd it go? Everything okay?" I stare at the screen, my fingers hovering over the keys. I should tell him. He deserves to know, but the thought of seeing the worry in his eyes, of watching our perfect life crumble again. I can't bear it. All clear, I type back, hating myself for the lie even as I hit send. "See you at home. Love you." The guilt gnaws at me as I drive home, warring with the fear that threatens to overwhelm me. I know I should be honest, should lean on Peter's strength like I did before, but a small, selfish part of me wants to protect this happiness we've built, even if just for a little while longer. As I pull into our driveway, I see Jackie playing in the front yard, her laughter carrying on the warm summer breeze. Peter waves from the porch, his smile so full of love and trust that it breaks my heart. In that moment, I make a decision. I won't tell them. Not yet. I'll go through the biopsy alone, carry this burden myself until I know for sure. It's not fair to them, I know, but the thought of watching the light fade from their eyes is more than I can bear. "Mommy's home!" Jackie shrieks, running towards me with open arms. I scoop her up, holding her close and breathing in the sweet scent of her hair. Peter joins us, wrapping us both in a warm embrace. "Everything okay?" he murmurs into my ear. I force a smile, burying my face in Jackie's curls to hide the tears that threaten to fall. "Everything's perfect," I lie, my voice barely above a whisper. And as we stand there, a picture-perfect family, in the fading afternoon light, I silently pray that my deception won't be the thing that finally tears us apart. The soft glow of candlelight danced across Peter's face as he raised his glass. "To 5 wonderful years," he said, his eyes shining with love, "and to many more." I clinked my glass against his, forcing a smile. The weight of my secret pressed down on me, threatening to shatter this perfect moment. It had been 2 weeks since my appointment, and the biopsy results were due any day now. Every ring of my phone sent my heart racing. "You okay, Em?" Peter asked, his brow furrowing with concern. "You seem distracted." I opened my mouth to confess everything, but the words caught in my throat. "I'm fine," I lied, hating myself for it. "Just thinking about how lucky we are." Peter reached across the table, taking my hand in his. We are lucky. You, me, Jackie. We're a team, remember? Nothing can break us apart. His words, meant to comfort, only twisted the knife of guilt deeper. I was about to respond when a familiar voice cut through the restaurant's ambient noise. Emma, is that you? I froze, my blood turning to ice. Slowly, I turned to face a ghost from my past. Alex. He stood there, looking older but still handsome, a mix of surprise and something else, regret, on his face. Alex, I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. What are you doing here? He gestured vaguely. Business dinner. I didn't expect to see you. Peter's hand tightened around mine, a silent show of support. Alex, he said, his voice cool but polite. It's been a long time. Alex nodded, his eyes darting between us. Then his gaze landed on something behind me, and his expression changed. Is that... I turned to see Jackie approaching our table, her face lighting up as she saw us. Mommy, Daddy, I finished my homework. Can I have dessert now? The color drained from Alex's face. She's yours? He asked, his voice strangled. In that moment I saw the wheels turning in his head, the mental math he was doing, and I realized with horror what he must be thinking. Alex, it's not. I started, but he cut me off. How could you keep this from me? He demanded, his voice rising. All these years, and you never told me I had a daughter? The restaurant fell silent, all eyes turning to our table. Jackie looked between us, confusion and fear clouding her young face. Mommy? Who's that man? Peter stood up, placing himself between Alex and Jackie. I think you need to leave, he said firmly. But Alex wasn't listening. His eyes were locked on Jackie, a storm of emotions playing across his face. She has my eyes, he whispered. No, Alex. You don't understand, I pleaded, but it was too late. He pushed past Peter, reaching for Jackie. Come here, sweetheart. I'm your real father. Jackie screamed, shrinking back. Peter grabbed Alex's arm, his face thunderous. That's enough. The restaurant erupted into chaos. Patrons gasped and murmured, waiters rushed towards us, and through it all, Jackie's sobs pierced my heart. I stood there, paralyzed by the nightmare unfolding before me. This was my fault. My lies, my secrets. They had led to this moment. As security guards appeared, pulling Alex away, his words echoed through the restaurant. She's my daughter. Emma, how could you do this to me? I watched as they dragged him out, his accusations ringing in my ears. Peter held a trembling Jackie, whispering soothing words. And me? I stood there, the weight of my deceptions crushing me. In that moment, as the world seemed to crumble around me, my phone buzzed. With shaking hands, I pulled it out to see a message from Dr. Patel. Emma, we have your results. Please call us as soon as possible. I stared at the screen, a hysterical laugh bubbling up in my throat. Of course, this would happen now when everything was falling apart. As Peter turned to me, his eyes filled with questions and hurt, I realized I had reached a crossroads. No more lies, no more secrets. It was time to face the truth, no matter the cost. Taking a deep breath, I prepared to shatter the life we had built, praying that somehow we'd find a way to pick up the pieces. The restaurant was in chaos. Jackie's sobs pierced the air as Peter held her close, shielding her from Alex's wild-eyed gaze. I stood frozen, my phone clutched in my hand, Dr. Patel's message burning into my vision. Emma! Alex's voice cut through the din. You can't keep my daughter from me. Peter's face hardened. She's not your daughter, Alex. Leave, now. But Alex wasn't listening. He lunged forward, reaching for Jackie. Peter stepped back, but Alex's fingers grazed Jackie's arm. She screamed, a sound that shattered my paralysis. Don't touch her, I shouted, stepping between them. Suddenly a large figure appeared beside us. Is there a problem here? A deep voice rumbled. I turned to see a muscular man in his mid-40s, his eyes sharp and assessing the situation. Recognition flashed across Peter's face. Richard? Peter said, relief evident in his voice. Thank God. This man is harassing my family. Richard's jaw set as he turned to Alex. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step back. Alex's face contorted with rage. You don't understand. That's my daughter. Before anyone could react, Alex shoved past Richard, making another grab for Jackie. In a blur of motion, Richard caught Alex's arm, twisting it behind his back. That's enough, Richard growled. You're coming with me. As Richard began to lead Alex away, I saw a dangerous glint in my ex-husband's eye. Time seemed to slow as Alex wrenched free, his hand disappearing into his jacket. Alex, I started, but it was too late. The glint of metal made my heart stop. A knife! Where had he gotten a knife? Jackie! I screamed, lunging forward. Everything happened in a fraction of a second. Richard tackled Alex to the ground, the knife clattering across the floor. Peter shielded Jackie with his body. And I stood there, my world tilting on its axis, as security guards swarmed in, restraining Alex, the adrenaline drained from my body. I sank to my knees, trembling uncontrollably. Emma? Peter's voice sounded far away. Emma, are you okay? I looked up at him, at Jackie's tear-stained face, and something inside me broke. The weight of my lies, the fear of my diagnosis, the shock of Alex's actions, it all came crashing down. I'm sorry, I sobbed. I'm so sorry. I've ruined everything. Peter knelt beside me, confusion etched on his face. Emma, what are you talking about? I took a shaky breath, knowing that the next words out of my mouth would change everything. The tumor, it's back, and I didn't tell you. The color drained from Peter's face. What? I was scared. I whispered. I didn't want to hurt you and Jackie. I thought I could handle it alone. Peter's expression cycled through shock, hurt, and finally a deep sadness that broke my heart. Emma, we're a team. You should have told me. As the police arrived to take statements, the gravity of the situation settled over us. Alex was being led away in handcuffs, shouting about paternity tests and lawyers. Richard stood nearby, giving his account to an officer. And we sat there on the floor, our perfect life in shambles. My phone buzzed again. Dr. Patel, no doubt wondering why I hadn't called back. The future I'd been avoiding loomed before me. More tests, more treatments, more uncertainty. What do we do now? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Peter took a deep breath, squeezing Jackie's hand. We face it together, all of it. As we sat there, surrounded by the wreckage of our anniversary dinner, I realized we'd reached a turning point. The lies, the secrets, the past we thought we'd left behind, it had all caught up with us, and now we had to decide, would we let it tear us apart, or would we find the strength to rebuild? Looking into Peter's eyes, I saw a flicker of the love that had brought us together, and in that moment, I made a silent vow. No more secrets, no more lies. Whatever came next, we'd face it as a family. But as the police approached to take our statements, I couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. The sterile walls of the police station seemed to close in on me as I sat across from Alex, his hands cuffed to the table. Peter stood in the corner, his presence a silent pillar of strength. Why, Alex? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Why did you do this? Alex's eyes, once so familiar, now seemed like those of a stranger. You took my child from me, Emma. What did you expect? I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what I was about to say. Jackie isn't your daughter, Alex. She never was. His face contorted in confusion, then anger. What are you talking about? You were pregnant when we separated. I thought I was. I admitted, but it wasn't a baby. It was a tumor. The silence that followed was deafening. I could see the wheels turning in Alex's mind, piecing together the past. So all this time he trailed off, the fight draining from his body. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, I said softly. But you had already left. You made it clear you didn't want children. Alex slumped in his chair, the reality of his actions crashing down on him. I've made a terrible mistake, haven't I? I nodded, feeling a strange mix of pity and relief. Yes, you have. As we left the station, Peter wrapped an arm around my shoulders. Are you okay? He asked. I leaned into him, drawing strength from his presence. I will be. We have bigger battles to face now. The next few weeks passed in a blur of hospital visits and legal meetings. Alex's actions had consequences. He was facing charges for assault and endangering a minor. But as I sat in Dr. Patel's office, waiting for my latest test results, those problems seemed distant. The tumor has shrunk significantly, Dr. Patel said, a smile breaking across her face. The treatment is working, Emma. Tears of relief sprang to my eyes as Peter squeezed my hand. So, what's next? He asked. We continue the treatment, Dr. Patel replied. But I'm optimistic. You're a fighter, Emma. As we left the hospital, I felt lighter than I had in months. The sun seemed brighter, the air fresher. We picked up Jackie from school, her face lighting up as she saw us. Mommy, Daddy, can we get ice cream? Peter laughed, scooping her up. I think we can manage that, Princess. Sitting in the ice cream parlor, watching Peter and Jackie giggle over their sundaes, I felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over me. We had been through so much, divorce, cancer, Alex's attack, but here we were, still standing, still a family. Penny for your thoughts? Peter asked, noticing my contemplative mood. I smiled, reaching out to take his hand. I was just thinking about how lucky I am, how lucky we all are. Peter's eyes softened. We've been through a lot, Em, but we're stronger for it. Jackie looked up from her ice cream, her face serious. Are you sick again, Mommy? I pulled her into a hug, marveling at her perceptiveness. I am, sweetheart, but the doctors are helping me get better, and I have you and Daddy to help me too. We're a team, Jackie said solemnly, echoing Peter's words from that fateful night at the restaurant. That's right, Peter agreed, and teams stick together, no matter what. As we left the ice cream parlor, hand in hand, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There were still treatments to endure, legal battles to face, and emotional scars to heal. But for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid. We had weathered the storm together, emerging stronger and more united than ever. Alex was a chapter of my life that had finally closed, and while the pain of those years would always be a part of me, it no longer defined me. Looking at Peter and Jackie, I saw my future, bright, full of love, and brimming with possibilities. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew we would face them as we'd faced everything else, together. As we walked home in the fading sunlight, I silently thanked the twists of fate that had brought me here. To this moment, to this family, to this love. And for the first time in years, I felt truly, completely whole.